Okay, so what is data conversion or data migration in SAP? So usually converting the non-SAP data into SAP. Converting or creating non-SAP data into SAP. So when we do this data conversion or data migration in SAP, let's take any business. Let's take one organization is using some software applications to run their business. For example, one for HR applications, and another one for finance, they use one more system, for some plant maintenance, right? So for each individual functionality they are using different systems in this company. What is the advantage of SAP ERP? So why every large organization uses SAP or any ERP software? What is ERP? Enterprise resource planning software, which helps to run the business of any organization. It provides better integration between different departments, right? So it will be a single source of data. When you implement ERP in your organization, that will be a single source of data. You don't need to have multiple systems, right? Everything can be maintained in ERP. So when organization decided to implement ERP, right? So they don't want to have these different systems for different business process. Multiple systems they don't want to maintain, right? And since there is no better integration between all these systems, there is no better business performance. They want to improve the business performance and visibility of their business. So they wanted to implement ERP. So when they implement the ERP, do they need these existing systems? Do they need these old systems? No, right? All these functionalities they can achieve in SAP ERP. What is the current version of SAP ERP? What is the current version of SAP ERP? SAP S4 HANA, I think 2023. That is the recent version. Okay. Every year or for every other 2 years, they release new versions with some advanced features. But the major change happened in SAP ERP is SAP ECC to SAP S4 HANA conversion. That is major thing happened about 12 years ago. Now we have different versions in SAP S4 HANA. Now once SAP ERP is implemented, so these old systems, no need to maintain all these systems anymore. So all the operations can run in SAP ERP. But what about the data that is created till yesterday? Let's assume today we implemented the SAP ERP, right, in our organization. From today, we are going to create all these transactions, HR related, payroll, attendance, right, recruiting, all these transactions. From today onwards, we are going to create an ERP. And if you take any financial account payables or account receivables, everything you are going to maintain in SAP ERP from today, right? Similarly, plant maintenance operations, you are going to create the transactions from today. What about the transactions created yesterday, day before yesterday, or maybe 1 year ago? That is also operational data, right? That is also operational data, right? 1 year data or 2 years ago data. That is also we need, right? The data which is already created in these systems, maybe from the past 1 year or 2 years. That is also recent data, operational data, not the historical data, right? That is also required in SAP ERP to perform your business. Yes or no? The data is created in these different systems, non-SAP systems. What we need to do? We need to migrate or convert that non-SAP data which is available in these third-party systems to SAP. Here, they might be using different databases in background. For HR, they might be using Oracle. For FI, they might be using DB2. For plant maintenance, they might be using MS SQL Server. So whatever the database they are using, we need to convert that non-SAP data into SAP, right? So in S4 HANA migration or in S4 HANA implementation, so they are using a tool called SUM. In the older days, they completely rely on data migration techniques to migrate the non-SAP data into SAP, but now they are using SUM, Software Update Manager. When we use this Software Update Manager tool to convert the SAP data into non-SAP, to convert the data, in case when we are migrating, the existing system is ECC and we are migrating to S4 HANA. In that case, we can use this Software Update Manager. If it is SAP ECC to SAP S4 HANA conversion or migration, we are upgrading the version to SAP S4 HANA. In this case, we can utilize this tool provided by SAP to convert this SAP ECC data into SAP S4 HANA. But in case of third-party systems, non-SAP systems, we cannot use some. We have data migration techniques to convert the non-SAP systems data into SAP. So in this case, these are non-SAP systems, right? HR, FI and PM. So we don't have any direct options to convert or migrate the database into SAP database. So for that, we use data migration techniques in ABAP. So what are those? First one is, here we are not going to create 1 or 2 records. Maybe from the past 2 years, there might be 10,000 records in HR data, 1 lakh records in FI data, 2 lakhs records in plant maintenance data. You need to migrate all that bulk data into SAP ERP at once after implementation. So when we run this data migration programs, when we actually run these data migration programs, is it after implementation or before implementation of SAP? After implementation of SAP, we execute this data migration programs to convert the non-SAP data into SAP, to insert this data into SAP tables, relevant SAP tables, right? So we have different techniques available to convert the non-SAP data into SAP. They are, first one is BDC, batch data conversion. Batch data conversion. So what is this batch data conversion? How you create a sales order, or how you create a material in SAP? Can you tell me how to create a material in SAP?
Using MM01 transaction.
Using MM01 transaction, we can create a material. To create a sales order, we use VA01 transaction code. To create a purchase order, we create ME21N transaction code. That's how manually create the orders. In general, in regular days, the transactions will be created in those transaction codes by the users, end users, right? So by using BDC, we are going to replicate the same process. Whatever the process user following, for example, open the transaction code MM01, enter the data, select all the options, so whatever the process does not exist in the check table. So what is this check table? Anyway, it's not relevant topic. So it's saying this plant is not available in this check table. This T001L is a check table for plant, I think. So what you need to make, so now I am trying to create a material. I got this error. In general, how it will happen in projects, they'll create a ticket. Specifically if you are in support projects, user create a ticket. Hey, I am not able to create the material number. What is the issue? They'll take the screenshots and create a ticket. As a ABAP developer, what is your role? Maybe first they'll assign to some business analyst. So they'll check whether it is a development issue or configuration issue. As per this message, this is a configuration issue. Since the plant is not available in the check table, they'll maintain it. Otherwise, in some cases, they'll directly assign it to a ABAP developer to check what is the issue. Okay. So you need to go through this message and check the data in this check table, whether this entry is available or not. And further, you need to debug it. Okay, I'll take one session on debugging, how to debug the issues. Okay, anyway, so user will click on continue to create the, let me select any other plant. So what is this check table? T001L. Okay, this is storage location check table. Storage location, and what are the primary keys here? Plant and the storage location. So we need to maintain a record combination of plant and storage location, or let me select what is the plant available for this storage location. How can I check? Take the storage location, enter the storage location, so that I'll get the plant available for that storage location. So this is the plant available for this storage location, ED10, so that I can enter this, right? Because I have a record with the combination of storage location and plant. Continue. Now it's allowed me, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is how, when you are working on the projects or when you are practicing, just check whenever you see any error, please go through the error and open the table and check the entries and then use a proper entry. Okay. I'm just providing the material description. So if I enter the description here, where the entry will be saved, whatever the description I am maintaining here, in which table it's going to be saved? What is the table for material text? What is the table for material text? Sorry, which one? MAKT. MAKT is the table. Looks like no one is practiced ALV reports. We have used MAKT in most of the programs. So this is how user manually create the material, right? And click on save. So the material is created. Material 2034 is created. If you go and check in Mara table, this material should be available. And MAKT, this material description should be available. So this is how user manually creates the material. And in our case, let's assume this material creation is manually happened in other non-SAP system till now, right? So that is happened in non-SAP system. There are thousands of materials already created in the non-SAP system. So we need to migrate all of them to SAP, right? So if you use a BDC approach or BDC concept, what we are going to do here, whatever we are doing manually here, how we open the transaction code, how we enter the data, how we click on save, same process BDC will follow. Whatever the screen processing, whatever the data we are entering in the screen, whatever the screen we are navigating to, same process BDC will follow. Here we automate that process for each record. For example, if you have 10,000 records in the non-SAP system, we collect all of them into an internal table and we repeat this BDC concept to create 10,000 materials into SAP. So we call MM01 transaction code 10,000 times. We enter the data one by one and click on save. So whatever the process that is happening manually, BDC will just automate it. Will just repeat the same process automatically for all the records instead of creating it manually. Because creating 10,000 records manually is not easy, right? One by one for any user. That's why we create a BDC program. It will automate the process. It will automatically open MM01 and it will enter the data and it will click on save. The program will do that instead of user. Okay, that is BDC. We have one more approach, that is BAPI. We can use BAPI to migrate non-SAP data into SAP. We can create data into SAP tables. What is BAPI? We can also call it as API. business application programming interface. So how it is different from BDC? What BDC will do? Tell me what BDC will perform. I just explained it, right? What BDC will do? It will simulate the process. It will simulate the screen processing. Whatever the process we are manually doing by the users, it will simulate the same process. It will automate the same process to create all the records, right? It uses screens, transaction code and screens, right? But BAPI doesn't use screens. It doesn't enter data in the screens. It doesn't call the transaction code. So BAPI is a function module. BAPI is a function module where we pass importing parameters to this function module. It will directly insert data into database tables. Okay. Here in BAPI, it won't do screen processing. It won't open the transaction code. It won't enter the data and click on save. It will directly update to DB tables. It won't follow the screens. It will directly update the data to database tables. But here in BDC, first it will enter the data in screen parameters, and when click on save, the program, that MM01 program will insert the data into database. But here in BAPI, we don't need to enter data in the screens, right? You don't need to open any transaction code. Here we directly update database tables with the new records. Okay. Here we call a BAPI function module. BAPI nothing but a function module. So we use BAPI function modules to create the data in the database tables. So which one is faster than BDC or BAPI to create the data into SAP? One is following the screen processing. The other one is directly updating the data to database tables. Which one is faster? So BAPI is faster than BDC, because here in BDC it needs to open the transaction code, populate the screen data. When they click on save, it will save the data into SAP. But here no such process needed. We are directly updating database relevant database tables with the data. Okay. So always preferable approach for any data migration is BAPI, as long as BAPI function modules are available. SAP has provided lot of standard BAPI function modules to create the sales order, to create the purchase order, to create the material, right? Or to change the sales order, to change the purchase order. For every process we have create, change and display. Even if you take the transaction codes, we have MM01 to create, 02 to change, 03 to display. Here also in BAPIs we have three different BAPIs. One BAPI is to create, other BAPI is to change, other BAPI is to display for each process. Okay. So whenever you are working in the projects, someone asks you to create a data migration program, to create any data, first analyze, is there any BAPI available for this, to do this data migration, right? That is your first check. Is there any BAPI available or not? If BAPI is not available, then only you go for BDC process. Okay? Clear? If BAPI is available, we should use BAPI because it is faster and efficient than BDC. There are certain other dependencies to use BDC programming. If there is any system upgrades, there might be changes to the screens, right? In that case, we need to change the BDC program again to fix it. But for BAPI, we don't need such issues. We don't have such issues. So BAPIs are always released status. That means BAPIs can also use by non-SAP systems, right? For that reason, what SAP will do, SAP will release these BAPI function modules. That means SAP will guarantee there is no further changes to this BAPI function modules. You can freely use it. So SAP will guarantee that by releasing the function module, right? So that, for example, this BAPI is used by some third-party systems. If SAP is doing changes every other month to this BAPI, is it going to work properly in the third-party systems? No, right? As per the changes, the third-party system also need to adjust their systems, right? Otherwise, these BAPIs are not going to work. So that's why SAP will guarantee that this BAPI is released and no more changes required. You can use it. No issues in the future, right? So that guarantee SAP will provide. That's why BAPI is always preferable than BDC. The other approach, let's say we don't have any BAPI available. We created some custom tables, that's some custom application. We don't have any BAPI available. And we don't have even BDC available. There is no chance of BDC because there is no transaction code. There is no screen for those tables. We have 10 tables, but there is no screen. For Mara and MAKT, there is a screen, right? MM01 transaction code where we can enter the data. But if you take some custom tables, there is no screen available. There is no transaction code available. That is not developed. But we need to save the data into tables. How can we do that? Directly insert records into DB tables by using insert or modify. So what we are doing this in third approach, we don't have a transaction code or we don't have a BAPI available for that particular tables. Then what we do? We directly insert records into database tables by using insert or modify statements in a program. Okay? Direct database update. Right? If you take BDC and BAPI, when records will be inserted into database tables, after performing lot of validations, it won't directly insert data into database tables. These two processes perform lot of validations to make sure we are inserting the valid data, right? But what about direct database update? We need to take care of those validations. Okay? We need to take care of those validations before inserting the data into database tables. So these three are the methods we have to migrate non-SAP data into SAP. So what would be the input for this? We create any data migration program. Usually they collect data into spreadsheets, Excel files or notepad files, text files, whatever the data available in non-SAP systems, right? So they collect the data in the form of file, is a Excel file, right? All those 10,000 records or 1 lakh records will be collected into a Excel file. First we upload that file into, let's assume we collected the data into file, whatever the data we need to migrate to SAP. Now what we need to do this file? We need to create a data migration program that might be using BDC or BAPI. That is the next step. But first we need to upload the file data into where? When we create the program, first we need to convert this file data into which one? Internal table. We need to convert this data into internal table. For that we have some upload function modules which we use to convert the file data into internal table. in the program, first we collect whatever the records available in the file into internal table. Then we use BDC or BAPI to insert the records in the internal table to that particular transaction code or the tables. So we use BDC or BAPI. Okay, we use BDC or BAPI in the program. So this you have to keep inside the program to upload the file data into internal table, and by using the internal table data, we use BDC or BAPI to migrate the data into SAP. Okay, in between you do the validations whether the data in the Excel file is valid data or not. Okay, is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we create data migration programs using BDC, BAPI and direct update to database tables one by one. Okay, so data migration programs are nothing new. These are also SC38 programs. Whatever the programs we created in SC38, we create similar programs, right? Only new concept here is you need to record some steps that is also not related to coding. Okay, you are going to use same syntaxes. You are going to use call transaction statement, all these things you are already familiar with. So in the next session, we'll create program on BDC, and then we'll replicate the same program into BAPI, how we can handle the same functionality in BAPI. Okay.